stuff.
Okay. Summary. Moonbase Alpha has encountered a pink planet, and the crew is not sure if it will be suitable for Project Exodus. An eagle investigating the planet disappears from scanners. It turns out that computer has been outputting incorrect data when it comes to the G-forces and planet's ability to support life. Dr. Bergman's artificial heart almost fails, even though computer says that oxygen levels are normal, which puts its reliability even further into doubt. David Cano uses a special implant in his brain to try and investigate the problem with computer, but somehow when hooking up to it, he disappears. Koenig decides to go to the planet to investigate for himself. He finds Cano along with the two men missing from the Eagle earlier on the planet's surface in a catatonic state. A servant of the guardian of the planet, known as Piri, appears to tell Koenig that time has stopped for the men in order to make them more perfect, and the same can be achieved for the rest of the Alphans. Koenig is not interested. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew on Alpha has started celebrating being locked into Piri's orbit because they're now under its influence and have become way too much fun for their own good. Koenig tries reasoning with them and then ripping boards out of computer after it sides with the Pirians as well, but he's sedated and locked in a room. Meanwhile, the Alphans all head to the surface of the planet where they start relaxing in various states of undress. Koenig heads back to the surface. He manages to snap Dr. Russell out of the trance using shock therapy, but the servant of the Guardian still has the rest of the crew brainwashed into being out for their blood. Koenig then makes everyone realize that there are no Pirians, and in fact, the idea of perfection is just another way of saying death. He then shoots the servant of the Guardian in the face and throws her down some stairs, leading to a chain reaction that starts destroying the planet and sends Moonbase Alpha out of Piri's orbit. The crew heads to the Eagles to escape. Later, when back on Alpha, heading away from the planet, they realize that in the Guardian's absence, life has returned to Piri, and they wonder if they should have stayed.
Okay.
I guess I rushed that a lot, but whatever.
Yeah, that's probably fine. He's on the he's got a green dot, so I guess probably updating Zoom or something.
Yeah, it's the season of the updation.
Zupdate. Zupdate.
Updation. Updatance.
Connecting to audio. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Probably no video because his apartment's covered in maggots.
Cool. We stand maggots on this podcast, at least this episode, maybe.
Mm.
Come on, Em.
You're
What's up?
on.
I feel like balls.
All right.
Well, we've got something for you then.
You ready to talk about maggots? Maggots? Maggots. I think I wrote that in my notes like 8 times.
Maggots used to bother me, and for some reason they just don't anymore.
Shall we bound into this then?
Yep.
And the number one on the shit list, it's Hollywood. So let's go to Italy, where everything's hunky-dory.
Yay, except for
Yay.
Oh no, this is one of those things where I've always seen the word written. I've never heard someone say it. What kind of horror is the Italian horror?
Giallo.
Oh wow, yeah, I can't roll my R's, so did you roll an R?
Giallo.
Yeah.
Giallo? I don't know. Is there an R in it? There's L's. Am I supposed to roll the L?
I don't know.
Giallo.
Now you've got me doubting it.
Okay, well, I won't ask you to say it again for today's movie, which is Dario Argento's Phenomena. Okay, that was a delayed cue. That's fine. I could edit, but I'm not going to and make it really shine like a monkey. Hi, it's Matt.
It is Luke.
It is Mark.
It is Films and Filth. Well, we're going to decide today if a variety of insects are indeed filth or not with the aforementioned phenomena. Mark brought this one in. Tell us your exciting journey with this film.
Well, my roommate showed me this in around 2003, and I'm very excited because it's actually a lot better than I remember it being. This is great. But also, the main reason I'm bringing this is just because I mentioned this as the film that Jennifer Connelly did after our much loathed film Once Upon a Time in America, because Dario Argento was basically introduced by Sergio Leone to her. And this, for my money, is a much better movie than that.
That's a low bar in our world, but
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's a weird paradox because a movie like this is never going to be on the good list because of how many like decapitations there are. But it's great. I love it.
how many decapitations are there? It's the one super obvious one. I mean, there's
At
a
least
fair amount.
three.
Three, okay. I guess I was keeping a maggot count, not a decapitation count.
There are more than three maggots.
Yeah, there are more than three of those. Yeah, I kept getting the name of the movie wrong for like a month, so obviously I wasn't that familiar with it. Argento, I never really gotten that deep into. I think Suspiria is supposed to be his like masterpiece, right?
Suspiria, yes.
Suspiria. See, I can't even say the movies right.
I
Anyway,
I haven't seen all of his films, to be fair. I'm not like a huge okay, I haven't dove that deep into his catalog, but yes, I have seen Suspiria a number of times.
no, I'm saying that like I didn't see it because like this movie, there's so many confusing cuts, and this would have been around 2000 when you really have to choose and commit to which one you're watching. Now you can get them all on like a Blu-ray, right? But I just didn't know which one to watch, so I didn't watch it, and then I didn't watch any of its other films either. That's my story of Argento. It's not an interesting one.
It's not the most I guess it's not the most user-friendly type of film because all of his films are filmed in English, then dubbed in Italian, and then redubbed in English. So it's pretty disorienting to watch any of them. And this cut that we watched, I'm sure that you all watched the same one.
Oh, it's the one on Archive.
Oh no, I saw it on Daily Motion, but it had a bunch of times when it just would go into Italian.
I had that happen,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
So for me, it kind of worked. It felt like when she's pissed, she uses her Italian.
That does. I mean, I wasn't lost, but it was sort of like, whoa.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I just assumed it was a character thing. Yeah.
I think it was just parts that were never dubbed because this is a longer cut. I'm pretty sure that the cut I saw initially, there's a 88-minute cut that was the American version. I think that was the first one I saw because there's that almost like the thing where she talks about how her mom left her dad and it was almost like the story from Gremlins.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember that. And that's apparently a story of Dario Argento's own story that he put in the movie.
There's also a kind of like in between cut. I saw like 111 minutes, so maybe that could be it too. Because yeah, some of the stuff like when it goes into Italian, I'm like, well, this is like essential plot stuff, isn't it? Like when she first goes for the phone, I mean, that becomes like the plot for the next 5 minutes. So
yeah, you kind of know what because it does then cut to she's like, okay, I'll take the pill, fine. you get the important stuff.
Yeah, I mean, again, it didn't throw us out, but yeah, I would be curious if that's just like how you have to watch this movie. I guess that's, like you said, it's not user friendly with these films. So, but I mean, that doesn't take away from the film itself. I don't know. You have a story. Do you want to do the story of the film?
Story of the film. Okay, story of the film. Here we are. In the Swiss countryside, a murderer is targeting young girls, and the police have enlisted an entomologist named John McGregor to help with the investigation. Meanwhile, Jennifer Corvino arrives at the Richard Wagner Academy for Girls and makes friends with Sophie, her new roommate. But that's the only friend she makes. Soon, Jennifer finds that she is sleepwalking as she had in the past, and now it seems to be awakening a power to control insects. After coming to, she ends up rescued by McGregor and his chimpanzee, Inga, and they become her only other friends. Speaking of friends, Sophie is soon murdered, and when it gets out that Jennifer witnessed the murder using insect powers, she is ridiculed by the other girls until she summons a cloud of insects outside and then passes out. When she comes to, she is narrowly able to escape being sent to a mental hospital and seeks refuge with McGregor, who sends her along with a sarcophagus fly to try and find the murderer. Jennifer doesn't find anything but an abandoned house, but meanwhile, Inspector Geiger has followed her and investigates the house more closely. Meanwhile, Inga witnesses McGregor get stabbed to death and wanders off to seek revenge. After seeing McGregor's body hauled off, Jennifer is just trying to get back to America when Frau Bruckner from the school shows up and says her father's attorney has tasked her with getting Jennifer some money and a plane ticket. Jennifer refuses to stay at the school again, so Bruckner says she can stay at her house. Bruckner immediately starts acting suspicious and aggressive and talking about her child who needs all the mirrors covered up. After narrowly avoiding poison and capture, Jennifer finds Geiger chained up in a corpse basement, and she escapes while he tussles with Bruckner. She finds Bruckner's child, but he turns out to be a murderous maggot baby. She narrowly escapes him and then sees her father's attorney coming to her rescue, but he's immediately decapitated by Bruckner. Just as she's about to get the upper hand on Jennifer, Inga arrives to get revenge by murdering Bruckner with a straight razor she found in the trash. It turns out that insect powers are nothing compared to the rage of a chimpanzee. Inga and Jennifer hug it out.
I mean, we learned that in the Planet of the Apes movies, right? With the
Yeah, but we never
chimpanzee
saw
rage.
apes versus bugs.
Yeah, but what he's talking about is beyond the insect powers. That's the chimp, sawing off Frau Bruckner's head or whatever. I guess he doesn't actually saw off her head.
Argento he said it was really difficult to work with the chimp because he specifically wanted it not to be funny. Like he was trying as hard as he could to make the chimp not funny.
Then why did he choose a chimp?
I don't know. But you could kind of see there is some actual like acting there.
Yeah.
Or directing, or both. However.
No, yeah. The chimp worked, but like, I don't know that it added much to the film.
Probably had more difficulty.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I guess it is. It is cool to say that the film has a chimp.
The guy's into entomology. Why does he have a chimp? He doesn't care about chimps.
He does. He loves Inga. Inga is his best friend. Anyway, speaking of Inga was actually a chimp named Tanga, who had previously starred in Bingo Bongo. Argento kept trying to film Jennifer Connelly from the front, but Tanga kept turning around. He asked Jennifer Connelly to put her hand on Tanga to try and stabilize the chimp, and then the chimp was angry and hostile towards her for the rest of the film, and while filming the final scene, bit off part of Jennifer Connelly's finger, which had to be reattached. As far as I could tell, Tanga was still alive in 2008, so Tanga was not euthanized for biting the finger off.
So Tanga had to remember like a different name for this movie, but Jennifer Connelly did not.
Yeah, maybe Tanga is a better actor. I don't know. Maybe Tanga was jealous. That's why she bit the finger off.
Between Jennifer Connelly and Tanga, they were the best two actors in the film.
You don't feel like a bit of Blowfield?
I mean, Donald Pleasance was great, but he was definitely just underused, and I think that it seems like maybe he was just like, fine, I'll do your Italian movie if I get to sit in a wheelchair the whole time. I don't think he was like wheelchair bound in 1985.
Yeah, I was just thinking of it was kind of like the Bryan Cranston Godzilla thing where you have the major at the time character actor and you barely use them.
Yeah, and Frau Bruckner really brought it at the end.
Oh yeah, that was fun. But yeah, it is basically Jennifer Connelly, Donald Pleasance, and a bunch of Italians, which makes sense in an Argento film.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I will say, maybe it's because she's out of her element. Jennifer Connelly herself, I mean, she's fine in this, but she was doing a lot better acting in Once Upon a Time in America, being the only person in that movie doing decent acting.
Yeah.
Like she was better in that, although, yeah, obviously this movie is better.
Well, she might also be a victim of having to dub and redub her own lines and stuff.
True. Yeah, and being like in another country. Well, she's in another country.
She's something like 15 years old, and this is her second movie, and she has to carry the entire movie now. That would probably make you a little nervous.
Yeah, I mean, she nails it a year later with Labyrinth. I mean, she has some Bowie help in that too, but she's still basically carrying that movie, right?
Well, yeah, Labyrinth is even more incredible because 90% of the time she's the only human on screen.
Yeah. Speaking of, Labyrinth Pinball was just announced.
Oh, that sounds like
that's
fun.
coming. Yeah.
When she was on screen
what
with
year
Bowie,
are we in?
85. So 1 year before Labyrinth.
This is the thing, Luke.
No, I mean, been a weird literally, what year are we in?
There's been a weird pinball revival in the States, and all of the pinball tables are just stuff from the 70s and 80s. Like there's now a Rush pinball, a Willy Wonka pinball, a Guns N' Roses pinball, all of which have come out in the Godzilla pinball, which is actually pretty good.
Rush, like the racing movie.
Rush, like the band from 1973.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, because I was thinking of like the what is it, 2015 movie with the racing,
the
and I
band
thought
whose
that'd be a
drummer
weird one to.
died of old age. That's not
Right.
true.
Thought you were going to say the band whose drummer died of pinball, and I was going to be like, wow, that's some poor taste.
I don't. Well, that would only be fair, right?
So where were we? Yeah. Okay. So what year are we in now?
1985.
Oh, it's 1985 again. Okay. So
Cool.
here we are. Um, the soundtrack obviously is. I felt like watching it. That must have been a hook because they go straight for Iron Maiden. So
Yeah,
that,
Flash of the Blade.
yeah, that's got to appeal to Mark there.
From 1984's Power Slave, sick album.
This might be the most 80s soundtrack ever, like in a good way. I mean, that could be in a bad way too, of course, but in this is the most 80s in a good way. This is like
very 80s.
It's a vaporwave of soundtracks, basically.
Yeah, and considering vaporwave barely existed to start with, it's pretty rad to see, there's like a bright white and blue hallway when the synth music is playing. It's I think that was Goblin.
Yeah. He does. I think he does every Italian film. They
Goblin
do.
is the band.
Yeah, I know. I didn't mean to say he.
Okay.
I was thinking of Argento too. Yes, I know Goblin's a band. Trust me.
Is it
No.
Claudio
Don't tell me that.
Simonetti?
I want to believe it's a real goblin.
Okay, a goblin made the music for this movie, Luke.
Yeah. It also cameos at the end of the film.
Right. That
Goblin currently is in one of those things that a band gets in when they're an old band where they've split into two bands and each one of them calls themselves Goblin, which is disappointing. I did get to see the whole band or whatever's left of them in 2013, but
do they spell it differently, or does one of them call themselves like the real Goblin? Or
I think one of them is name of guy *S Goblin.
Oh, okay. That happened with Gong. Gong did it. Goblin can do it.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, for what I'm expecting of Argento, though, I guess the most distinct shot would be the kid disintegrating under the water at the end. That seems to me what I expect, having not seen a bunch of Argento, kind of like the flowing and bloody mess thing.
He's really into broken glass and stabbing. So like the part early on where you see the girl get stabbed, then she falls through the broken glass, that's very much his thing.
Okay.
Like the stabbing, he'll do it all. Blood.
Luke, where did you actually fall on this film? Is
I liked it. It didn't. It's not very scary, and because it stars a young girl with like magical powers, the tone of it felt like like a young adult fantasy film. And then just every now and then there was insane gore.
Yeah, it kind of is like a superhero movie, like Unbreakable or something. Like it's like a moody superhero movie.
Yeah, it's not a scary movie, it's a squirmy movie,
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about it, is that it's not just a horror movie. It has a bunch of other shit in it. Like it has the fact that it has a chimp, also a superhero, also a bunch of bugs. It's just and it's such an afterthought that really, when you find out who the murderer is, it's like, what? That's just left field. That could have been anybody, really.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't know.
Yeah, she does make extremely dumb decisions, which I guess a 15-year-old will do. But like, okay, after going after the phone for like 30 minutes and it's now stuck in the corpse basement and all that stuff, it's like maybe there's a plan B you could do. I mean, why is she even still there in the first place? I mean, yeah, I don't know.
She seems extremely cocky, and that's part of her character. I think she's like, yeah, no, I'm not insane. Okay, I can control insects, but I'm fine. I know I sleepwalk, I can control insects, but I'm fine.
Yeah, well, she's like a famous guy's dad, famous guy's daughter, and an American. So yeah, it's just
makes sense. Tracks.
I mean,
like if Kim Kardashian's kids had powers or something, they would act like that.
I mean, this is the kind of school where you would have had like Kim Jong-un as a classmate, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Imagine they just remade this with like Jaden Smith.
Yeah, he's
I don't
already
actually
too old,
work
isn't he?
really well. Now he is. But
How old is he now? Like 20 or something?
Yeah, that's probably
Might be older than that.
northwest.
I think he's a similar age to me, man.
That old? He's that
No,
old?
he's a bit younger.
Nah.
Yeah, okay. 24. I'm guessing 24.
25.
Now that everyone is yelling numbers out.
He was born around the same year as my brother. He's 25 years
Oh,
old.
25. First I thought you said 35, and I was like, fuck you. Okay. 25. So 24 was a good guess. Okay. I'm happy with my guess now.
His older brother is 30, but everyone forgets about him.
Is that a different marriage or something?
No, I think it's just that he's like, I don't think he mostly does film work. I think he was like a lawyer or something.
He's like normal, so no one cares.
Yeah.
The Famo couple, Willow's the other one. That's a girl.
Right.
Yeah. Whip my hair back and forth.
Or maybe
Willow would be a star. Willow stars in a remake of this, and then she whips her hair around and it controls insects.
Okay.
It writes itself.
But even she's 22.
Okay.
Well, that's like the
she can play the murderer.
That's 15 in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's what I'll say. You can still play 15 when you're 22. I mean, this movie just does it for realsies, right? So
yeah, there were some reviews of this that were critical about casting girls that are the actual age of that are actual teenage girls. It's like these, I don't know. I think that seems like an argument that you would make if you were a fucked up pervert, but I don't know. I'm not trying to judge people for criticizing things.
Yeah, I mean, they're not really showing her,
There's no sex in this. It's not sexy.
Right.
No, there's that one bit where she's in the car and the guys get handsy.
Yeah, but it's like that mercifully doesn't last very long and she gets away. So
and I mean, I'm always thinking about the smellometer in the last 15 minutes of the film. I'm like, man, she must be rank.
Probably.
Yeah, because after coming out of the death pit of maggots, I mean, she gets a blast of water and then she gets in a lake, but and that's not helping that much. I mean, you gotta get some, soap or some cleaning product under yourself. Well, bodily cleaning product, not like bleach or something. Well, she might need bleach after the maggot pit.
Probably. Yeah, but I feel like evaluating the movies that I've brought to this podcast in the anarchy of during the strike, whatever free for all thing we're doing. So I feel like I've learned something about myself, and then I just want movies that have a ton of shit in them.
Like literal shit.
Like literal shit, like at the end of
literal shit. Yeah, it's like I just like movies that just have just a lot of everything in them. So you include the Warriors in that. It's just sort of it's just crammed full of a lot of stuff.
Oh, speaking of the Warriors, have you seen John Wick 4 yet, Mark?
No, I've only seen the first one, and then I saw parts of the second and third one. I was in the hospital and kind of way out of it, and I kept being confused because I would turn to the channel. Okay. Should I watch that? Should I prioritize it?
Most of the third act of the fourth one is a big Warriors tribute.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think you'll really dig it.
Yeah, it was weird because I kept tuning to that channel that was like running the second and third kind of over and over on repeat. And it would be like Ian McShane saying a bunch of things about ancient law to Keanu Reeves. And I was just like, what? I don't know.
So the trick with John Wick films is none of that shit matters and you shouldn't care. You just want to see Keanu Reeves kill a bunch of dudes.
I did.
And let me tell you, he kills a bunch of dudes.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that.
So I was gonna come out with a question/statement, like maybe you prefer like a very slow build up punctuated by a bunch of insanity. Like, would you like insanity just front to back, or do you need the build up?
No, I like slow movies, but I prefer a bunch of shit, and the best outcome is that's how Evil Dead 2 is structured, and I'd say that's probably in my top 5 favorite movies.
Because this one, I mean, it's not like it doesn't have like shots you don't need. This is a decent director, but the first hour is, except for a few bugs flying around, is relatively like, I mean, it doesn't really pop. It's just and then it pops, right? Which could be like very intentional with this. So,
But importantly, Argento's sort of camera, his eye is always, it's a lot like David Lynch, where he does a lot of holding people in full frame while they talk and not a whole lot of like wasted shots or wasted time between dialogue. I don't know how else to put that. It's like you feel very, it gives you a feeling of being very close up in people's face the entire time, which makes it easy for my ADHD to latch onto it.
I was just looking at the wiki page. It was saying that he was inspired to make this film by reading an article about how like detectives actually
what-
found a murderer using insects or finding the maggots or whatever. And I was
Mhm.
like, that wouldn't inspire me to make a movie.
That's but that's another thing I love is that this movie is sort of a world where everything is real. Controlling insects is real.
No one really
Chimps are
questions
brilliant.
it.
Yeah, chimps are brilliant. Maggot babies are real. It's just sure. Yeah, there's a fly that can find corpses.
Yeah,
And
there is a bit of,
you
like you
control it.
said, the superhero thing, like especially when she's like buddying with the bug doctor professor. It did have a bit of a Professor X Jean Grey vibe for sure. Although this would
Mhm.
be Jean Grey with much creepier powers, of course. Um,
Personally, I'd rate this above, I mean, all but 3 X-Men movies, probably.
well, I mean,
All but 4.
all but okay. Well, you're putting it pretty much as in the average of X-Men movies there.
Aren't there like 15 of those?
It
X-Men,
depends.
X-Men 2, X-Men 3. Are you including the Wolverine ones?
Yes.
Origins, the Wolverine, Logan, Days of First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, and Dark Phoenix, Deadpool 2. So far there are 12.
New Mutants. I haven't
Oh
seen
yeah, I
it, though.
forgot that came
Lucky
out.
13.
I
Everybody
forgot
did.
to.
That
I
was
did
that
not
year
see
that didn't happen.
So okay, I didn't see that one, but yeah, I'd rate that above all but Deadpool 1 and 2.
So Mark's actually not far off. There's 13. We got
Yeah.
Deadpool 3 coming out.
Yeah.
Hey, here we go. I'm looking at today's headlines on Japan Today. Drunk man in Yokohama live streams himself getting robbed after falling asleep on the street. I could see how that might be more movie inspiring than the bug stuff.
Sure. I'd make that movie. That sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a guy wants to highlight all the crime in his town, so he starts deliberately being victims of crime, but it escalates until he's like a hostage in a
Yeah, he starts by like leaving an iPad in his car and filming it, just like waiting for someone to steal it, and then he just
See, that's more of
yeah,
like
that
an
could be
inspiring
great.
headline, right? That is kind of what I'm getting at.
Mm.
Although I will say, out of all the headlines I'm looking at, that's the
Well,
only one
but
that did it for me.
but to be fair, even though I understand that you're not a fan of insects, but who else has ever made a movie about insects that solve crimes? It's it's at least original, if nothing else.
I'd
54
imagine
year old
like
man.
one of your TV detective procedurals has done an episode where the insects are how they kind of solve the crime.
Probably.
Yeah, yeah. Although it obviously wouldn't be quite as squirmy as this one. I feel like even now American TV doesn't want to squirm that much. I don't know. I've never gotten
Well,
to torture porn and stuff. So
well,
there's
that
stuff I don't know.
I mean, that was part of why the budget was so high for this. It said like 6 million lira, whatever that means.
Well, that doesn't
I
really tell me much about the budget at all.
Yeah, it's pre-Euro, so I have no idea.
It sounds a lot. I don't know, millions. Anyway, the the insects were expensive and even got, it says they got like Black Widow spiders for some reason. Like, sure, why not bring deadly spiders along?
Yeah, I mean the chimp's biting fingers off. So what's a Black Widow gonna do at this point?
Be
For me,
cool if they like teamed up.
the squirmiest scene, I guess, was actually making herself hurl. Because that just makes you feel
Yeah.
visceral stuff from the past. So
Yeah, sorry, that wasn't super easy for me to watch, having just been in the hospital with an IV because I was puking a whole bunch before I went to the hospital. It's,
oh yeah,
maybe a
because
little close.
Yeah, she does the tearing the IV out herself, whereas you could just like go
Ugh.
around with a medicine tree. When I was in the hospital once, I just walk around with a medicine tree. Go
That
to
would have been
the
fun if she just
convenience.
took that everywhere. The end of the film.
I think I went to the convenience store. I mean, it was in the hospital, but I'm like at the convenience store with the medicine tree. But wearing a Pet Sounds t-shirt. I had to wear the Pet Sounds t-shirt for like 4 days in a row.
I was wearing a t-shirt for 4 days that was you guys ever played like Jackbox games?
Yeah, yeah.
It was a t-shirt that was one that that my friend bought off their website because we did the t-shirt design game, and it just says it has just like a bunny rabbit smashed up against a duck, and it says, "If this is coffee, bring me tea, and if this is tea, bring me coffee." So I was wearing that. I was wearing that. I drew the art.
I drew my t-shirt.
I
Is that-
drew the t-shirt.
is
I mean,
that
that's
what
about
you-
how bad my art is, and I'm terrible at it.
I was just wondering if that's what you were telling all the nurses and stuff. I drew this t-shirt. You probably
I was
did and forgot you did it.
no, I remember everything, unfortunately.
That's a Joy
Everything.
Division song, isn't it? I remember everything.
Maybe.
Uh, okay. What's your squirmiest scene? That was mine actually. Just I mean, I'm watching Sex on Screen. I don't. I kept eating my corn chips when there were a bunch of maggots, so I
I
didn't.
mean the so sorry, corpse basement probably,
Okay.
and the dude breaking his thumb to get out of the handcuffs. Like holy shit.
Yeah, that was a little raw. Luke, how about you?
The basement,
Squirmiest.
definitely. I'm not a big fan of spiders, so a couple of times they got close ups I wasn't the biggest fan of. I actually was surprised watching this. I didn't get that bothered by the bugs. What? Maybe it's the way they were depicted, or maybe it's just I'm not as bothered as I used to be. But like, I've accidentally left a trash bag in my house and gone on vacation and come back to a maggot fest. So that stuff usually does really get to me. But watching this one, I wasn't that bothered. I think because the bugs were generally her allies.
Her little friends.
Yeah, like when I watch Spider-Man, it can show me all the spiders you want. It doesn't set off my arachnophobia. So yeah,
That
maybe
makes
this
sense.
this got a little bit of that. It was bug proof.
I used to be very upset by maggots, and for some reason this viewing, I wasn't even expecting to be better with maggots, but maybe with age you get better with maggots. I have no idea.
That's
Or
you're getting
maybe it's
closer
the-
to them. You're getting closer to meeting them.
Oh, here we come. No, maybe it's just the film grain, or yeah, maybe it's because the part where she was petting the bee and the bee was just kind of like, I was like,
Whoa,
oh,
here they come. They're man eaters.
Yeah, I guess like I was like, why doesn't she control the maggots? Of course, they're not bugs, so yeah, but they just they're creepy crawlies. I think she should have been able to control the maggots. What do you think?
maybe she could, but they just were useless because they're babies. Like if you
Yeah.
could mind control babies, human babies, wouldn't
Mm.
get you anywhere unless you could set off a bunch of them all screaming at the same time as a diversion.
Or if they like grew to the size of like Star Trek 3 Genesis maggots, that would have been cool.
I mean, that would be very expensive, but it would have been cool.
That would have been 12 million lira, however much that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. So here's something interesting. Luke, you might find this interesting that this movie was basically ripped off for the 1995 horror game Clock Tower.
Oh, cool. I'm
Like,
aware of Clock Tower gets brought up a lot as like actually Clock Tower's the original horror game, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
But I've never played it.
Does it have
Exact
maggots?
same. It doesn't say if there's maggots, but you play as a woman named Jennifer who's in a mansion that looks the same, and there's a scissor wielding maniac. So, yeah,
Okay.
Huh.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's. I'll play that someday, maybe when they
It's a
remake
point and
it.
click adventure, so I'm probably
Yeah, they'll remake it. Don't worry.
no.
Everything.
Oh well,
everything's gonna
I'm
be
looking at a screenshot, and it even basically looks like Jennifer Connelly, and she is fighting a little like creepy midget man with some scissors. So yeah,
yeah,
Well, somebody likes this movie. Um,
the Japanese. Anyway,
this
yep. Hifumi Kono was inspired by the works of Italian horror film director Dario Argento.
all right.
that makes sense. I mean, Argento is often cited as an inspiration. It's not weird. It's normal. You can be inspired by maggots and and rain. Maggots are falling like rain.
So another interesting trivia note is that Argento wanted Connolly's character to be the daughter of Al Pacino, but Al Pacino objected because he didn't want a story of a daughter he doesn't actually have.
Well, he could have
Which
been
makes
a
me
little
think
more
that-
meta.
It makes me think that he did have a daughter.
Oh, secret daughter, probably.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know.
No, he was probably like, it's a great idea, but you need to wait to make this movie for about 15 to 20 years to get the proper Pacino for that. Or they're just going to
Hoo-ha.
say it. Yeah, we need a little more.
Stop
hoo-ha.
looking at my daughter.
Because this was he making a Sea of Love? That's like the only movie he makes around this time, and that doesn't
Well-
like that doesn't. I mean, that Pacino just doesn't compute. You can just have a random guy.
Yeah.
That's fine. It doesn't matter in
Yeah.
1985.
Well, he doesn't show up in the film anyway. Only his lawyer shows up. And his lawyer shows up and gets killed.
Yeah, I was about to say it's the
coming to
Shining
help.
thing, isn't it? It's the
Yeah,
Scatman.
it is.
It's the Scatman thing, and I was going to say one. Does that make it derivative? Because this is 4 years later, and we all know The Shining by now. No, it's not
hadn't thought of that.
not a
Oh,
sudden
boy.
decapitation in The Shining. So they do one up it in a way as well. But
Mhm.
The Shining, it's more genuinely surprising here. Where here they have like I'm coming shots. Oh, and you're like, oh, shit's about to go down, and then you just start laughing like because well, I guess that's what my family does. In
I laughed.
Shining too, but yeah.
But I was just thinking to myself, man, I would be so pissed if like my dad was a lawyer and then he got fucking murdered going to help his client or something. We're just like, ah.
Well, at least it was a gory killing spree. Yeah. Well, how's she going to
Yeah.
explain that situation with her and the chimp when that doesn't like her when anyone else shows up?
Did the one cop die as well?
He
I
wasn't-
assume.
Yeah, we don't see him again, and he's pretty screwed up. So
Right.
Giger,
Geiger.
I think they actually do say Giger.
I think he said Geiger.
Maybe they did. I don't know.
No,
We can't
Geiger.
pronounce anything.
Geiger.
Giger. Giger.
Geiger. HR, non-HR Geiger.
Yeah.
Human resources Geiger.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. We have come to review your relationship to the torture chamber. That's not even what his voice sounds like. He sounds like this. He's like, oh, he sounds like he's intentionally trying to sound creepy as hell.
Well, that makes sense.
sense.
See, bringing up David Lynch again, I wish it was more of a David Lynch thing because before I'd seen David Lynch in an interview, you'd assume he's really dark and creepy. But it's like, hey, yeah, I love making movies. I'd never
Yeah,
say a
I
dirty word.
love David Lynch interviews. My
He's
all-time
great.
favorite clip is the elaborate on that. No.
I would like to wholeheartedly recommend to both of you. I'm sure you can find this in a different format, but a friend of mine let me borrow a like 16 CD biography / autobiography of David Lynch. And what you get is alternating CDs. The biographer, who's a lady with a super like professional NPR voice, like Lynch moved to the town where he found, she's just sort of, and then it gets the David Lynch part. He talks and he's like, well, gosh, a guy I went to school with told me that you could take your penis between your two fingers and then you could have a real good feeling. And I was like, oh boy, I gotta try. That is just ridiculous. He talks about setting off pipe bombs for like an hour. It's great. I highly recommend to anybody who cares. It's super entertaining.
Yeah.
16.
Probably on Audible.
It's many hours. Yeah, it's somewhere.
Your life
get-
is now
well-
David Lynch's.
You will
Let's
enjoy.
get
He
our
talks
Audible
about-
sponsorship and then we can listen to it for free, Matt.
Hell yeah. But he talks about he has a whole story about Marlon Brando going to a Lost Highway screening and like sneaking in hamburgers to the theater, even though it's a private screening. He just like has hamburgers falling out of his trench coat.
With an S, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I could see like coming in with a hamburger. Maybe
If
even
you're gonna
two
do
if
it, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
He was a hamburglar. I hope he
Go
was wearing
big.
a hamburger suit.
He was a
Giant Marlon.
ham smuggler.
Yeah. I was
Dr. Hamburglar.
I was trying to wait until we got to Mac and Me, but I finally last week broke my McDonald's spell of not going for 10 years because my daughter wanted the Tamago burger.
Yeah, it's decent.
Mago burger.
The
So
only
it's
problem
like
is
a big egg.
yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
egg on it.
During Tsukimi, which is the season when the moon is most beautiful, McDonald's and KFC both always have a special burger with a big ass fried egg.
That sounds great.
My mistake was, okay, yeah, I'll get a Big Mac. And then my wife orders the Big Mac, and then it switches screens to the Samurai Burger. I'm like, well, fuck, I didn't get the Samurai Burger. I mean,
the Samurai Burger's permanent, don't worry.
Oh, okay, good.
So what's the Samurai Burger though?
It's like kind of a big ass. It's just like a burger in some sauce, but it's nice.
Okay,
just some meat, man.
Some meat.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll end up going in a year when she wants the egg burger again. So we'll see.
I was in McDonald's yesterday because I go almost every Wednesday because that's when I work at the school near the McDonald's.
That's the little one in the supermarket. That supermarket,
Yeah.
Isn't that's not depressing?
No, I pick it up from there and I eat it in the park. It's
Oh,
lovely.
okay. Oh, yeah, that's lovely. I just thought sitting at one of their 3 tables would be depressing.
No.
But yeah, taking it to the park. Okay, that makes sense.
I was definitely eating a little more at American McDonald's before I got pancreatitis because I figured out that they have a pretty decent deal where you can kind of get 2 breakfast sandwiches for $4 and you just don't buy anything else and you don't end up spending too much money, which you will. Fast food here generally is like $12 for
I've
anything.
heard it's not cheap anymore.
It's not cheap. It's not fast.
It's not fast.
Not fast anymore. No, the lines just wrap around the building, and you can order through the app and hope that they actually give you your order.
Before last week, I don't know when's the last time I went to legitimate fast food. I guess ramen shops don't count, and it takes
ramen
like 5
shop
to 10 minutes.
The one with like the machine and stuff in Japanese terms, I think that is fast food.
Yeah.
Guess how much ramen is here? Over $12.
I remember when I came to Japan, having sold shitty overpriced ramen for a year. I was like, damn, what was I doing? I was selling people bowls of piss water for 15 quid, and it's like a quarter of that price and 3 times the quality.
Yeah.
To be fair, we do have actual Japanese chains here. So there's quality stuff, but it's just 15, 17, whatever dollars.
No, I just know when I last lived in Atlanta in 2010, there was, jack and shit for ramen.
There was not. All of it started popping up like maybe 5 years after that.
Right. So
there's a Japanese chain called Umaido, which we have one of those in Swanee, which is the only one in the entire US for some reason. And you know where Swanee is, right, Matt?
Yeah, that's basically 2000 Maniacs.
It's what it sounds like. Yeah. It's what it sounds like. Swanee.
Yeah.
And they have an offshoot called Hajime, and there's 2 or 3 of those.
Swanee. Yeah. Yep. I was trying to get a sui out of that, but squeal like a pig.
And we have a Gyukaku.
Oh, that's fun. The one near my house closed. That's the barbecue and
bummer.
Korean barbecue for those that don't know. So October, I feel like are thinking about if it's a film or if it's filthy kind of flips. Like I feel like this month, if we don't say it's filthy, we're doing a disservice.
I mean, when we had The Ring, that's more of like a classy kind of horror, right? That's not filth.
True. That is not filthy. This is, there's
this film literally ends with a teenage girl wiggling around in a corpse bath with rotting human remains. So
I mean, that's pretty filthy. Like I feel
and a chimp murders somebody with a straight razor that found in the trash.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a well-made film. Kind of filth. It's a very well-made horror film, but yeah, it's really filthy. Like not like I'm offended, just like, oh, this movie actually needs to take a bath. That's why I was so happy to see her in the lake at the end. It's just like, oh, you come out of a lake, you got that weird lake smell. That's why I don't like swimming in lakes. Ocean, great. Someone asked me last week, and it's ocean best, then pool, then lake. I don't want to swim in the lake, but if you've just been in a corpse bath, then the lake could be quite nice and refreshing. It's in the Swiss Alps, and maybe it's like nice crystal water. I don't know. I'm thinking of Georgia, mud lakes.
Yeah. Well, I feel like every single time I've gone inner tubing or swimming somewhere, and people are like, "Oh, it's a natural spring. It's super clean." It always just smells like a turd, no matter what it is.
I mean, you come out of Japanese hot springs smelling like sulfur half the time, which. How do you feel about that, Mark? You smell like sulfur. Can you handle it?
I can handle that more than the fart.
Okay.
Smell.
Well, sulfur and fart are like close cousins.
Maybe I haven't gotten like a really sulfury one. That's also possible.
Yeah, it's not all of them, but yeah.
I think I've been on like 2. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah. It does depend on where you are. I am looking for reviews. I guess
Oh, I've got one. A
you got
1 star.
you got a
Do I
one
need a 10
star.
star?
I'll look for it. You give us the 1 star. I'll look for a 10 star.
Oh, before I do the reviews, I just want to do the taglines because I like doing these.
Oh yeah,
When
sure.
insects attack, Jennifer has a few million close friends. She's going to need them all. It will make your skin crawl from Dario Argento, the Master of Terror, blah, blah, blah. Evil is alive and killing. A nightmare, alive. Anyway, some of those are good. Okay.
The actual
Here we
rating
go.
here, by the way, is 6.7, which
6.7.
is it's all right. It's all right rating, right?
Most of the ones that it seems like most of the ones that we bring ourselves are really close to that. Like they're all in the late 6s.
That's where probably like 80%
Nice.
of the movies are.
Yeah. Yeah, they all hover around 69 because everyone's trying to vote it towards 69 no matter what.
Luke, do you
Okay.
support that? Fudging your vote to make it closer to 69.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't support the whole system, so if
Like
you
I
want to
feel
fuck
like
with
it's
it.
an 8, but if I give it a 10, it'll get to 6.9.
Just hack into IMDb and make every movie a 6.9.
That's fine because that's just banter. That's not you being like, no, my opinion is correct, so I should give the score that's going to move it closer to what I think.
All right. Here we go with speaking of opinions. 1 out of 10 stars. Outstanding quote unquote gasp from Italian horror from Dario Argento. That's a weirdly structured sentence. From Eros Land 1. I saw this flick last Halloween and I can't seem to forget how terrifying it was. Terrifying in that way. If I ever see this DVD again, I'm going to throw it away. I mean, Jesus Christ, a telepathic crime insect enforcer? What the hell? I think I spend a third of. No, wait, actually, during the HOLE whole movie, I thought about the idea to not gasp myself to death. Luckily, if it hadn't been for my friend filling in post-mortem onliners, I'd be dead. I rate or not comment on the plot in this movie because it could get real ugly upon this motherfucker. Avoid this movie at any cost. The music score, the gore, the atmosphere do not help when the story about a crime-solving girl and her fly is sniffing out hideouts for old rotting corpses. But thank you for reading. 12 out of 29 found this helpful.
Looking at the 10s here, I got one that I'm not going to read, but it just has the one of Argento's very best and Jennifer Connelly's first film. So,
Sort of.
That's well, not at all. So,
first starring role. I don't know.
Okay, you could say that.
That
I
doesn't
guess.
count really.
Yeah. 10 out of 10 says, I love insects. After have finished Argento's Phenomena, 2 thinking came out in my mind. How wonderful this work is and how many fans of Argento hate it. Really? It's really funny to see that work that have almost all the elements that Argento uses in his movies is not appreciated for fans of his. This fans used to love more movies like Suspiria or Deep Red, but much maybe don't realize that Phenomena offers the same, even better style, suspense, and shocker. It describes so much his movies. English may not have been their first language,
Well,
and which is why I chose it because the others were just like thoughtful explanations on why they liked the movie. So
yeah.
that's no fun. That was the best I
Yeah.
could. That's the best I could do today, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this is frequently cited by Argento as his favorite of his films, so he likes it.
Is he still kicking?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
he made a film not too long ago that was apparently a real piece of shit.
Yeah.
But you know,
Okay.
like we've had this discussion, I think on a different podcast than this. I think directors do not age well. I think directors age worse than almost any other filmmaker.
Well, you have to. I mean, once you're getting into extreme old age, it's like maybe it's hard to muster a certain command for many people.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's like you need a certain amount of vigor. Okay, he directed Dark Glasses last year, which sits at 5.1.
How about Vim? Do you need Vim?
You probably need Vim.
Okay, both of them.
Oh
That's
yeah,
cool.
I guess maybe it's not a coincidence that the directors who do age well are also the ones who are like insanely hardworking taskmasters that everyone hates.
Yeah,
Because I'm thinking like James Cameron still makes banging films, but that's because he like, if he ever died, he would shout at himself until he got back up.
Like, I kind of wonder if the reason Avatar 2 took so long was he was just like, I'm gonna make this at whatever pace I need to make it for it to be good. And
Yeah,
I don't know. He
yeah,
seems
he's in
to
that
be,
position now, right?
yeah, he seems to be. It sounds like he's gonna stop after the third one. I don't know if he's gonna stop directing entirely, but
Yeah, I think he's going to stop directing, and yeah, he's like he'll produce or whatever.
yeah. But
What you said, it just popped in my mind that it's insane that Roman Polanski and Woody Allen are still a one film a year people in their late 80s with their reputations. That's insane.
oh well,
Europe.
Polanski went to Italy, right?
Yeah.
Is that where he went, or is like somewhere?
I think it's might be Switzerland. I don't know. He bounced around in Europe because yeah. Because he ain't bouncing over here or over there for Mark. Over there
Over
for
here?
us.
He's not going to be over here or over there.
Over there. Okay.
We're forever.
I just forgot
ours.
how prepositions work. That's all.
Well, I was trying to figure out where he got extradited to, and I can't find it.
Yeah, it's just weird that I'm like, those are like basically the hardest working elderly directors. I guess they're just trying to forget their personal issues. I don't know.
I think,
Get
yeah, a
lost in your
certain
work.
amount of, well, I mean, a certain amount of drive often goes with extreme, whatever, derangement.
Yeah. Okay.
I
There we
don't
go.
know. That's it. I mean, that's not a perfect metaphor, but oh, he's in Poland.
He's
I
from
guess.
Poland. I think he's from, right? I don't know. I don't really care where he is.
Now I'm just, yeah, he's in Poland now.
Okay, sure. Why
Anyway.
not?
Anyway, yeah, haven't you ever known someone who was just a complete like druggy train wreck who did a bunch of crimes and then somehow they become successful later? It's just sort of, sometimes the same thing that makes you a criminal is the thing that makes you make a bunch of things.
I'm not sure I have that specific example to be perfectly honest, but sure,
You
why
can be
not?
successful without being a criminal, but
not like super successful.
that's the thing is, the Venn diagram overlaps.
Right. Okay. There we go. Anyway, Argento seems to at least not be any sort of master criminal that I know of.
I think he's generally considered kind of misogynistic, but
Is he?
didn't see a
Okay.
whole lot of I didn't see a whole lot of that in this movie, at least.
No. Like we said, it's a relatively, I mean, this is the most unhorny of movies. Can you get more unhorny than this?
This is compared to Once Upon a Time in America. This is like the Bible. Wait, no, the Bible isn't.
Bible is
horny.
like maggots. I think. Oh yeah.
It's whatever the Book of Mormon. I don't know what doesn't have maggots. What doesn't have sex in it? It's like a piece
Lord
of
the
white
Rings.
bread. Okay, it's this Lord of the Rings compared to that.
Okay,
I'm okay with that analogy.
Sure.
Also, quality wise,
but not lengthwise.
No.
What was it Critters or Creepers that was the American title?
Creepers.
Okay. Critters is a different one. It's because I saw both VHS boxes a lot, right?
I will say Creepers makes more sense as a title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I assumed it was going to be about like poltergeists and stuff, but no, it's about just bugs. The phenomenon is you can control bugs.
Yeah, technically there's only one phenomenon, so this should have just been called Phenomenon.
Yeah, but then you'd have to hire Travolta.
Then Travolta would have to use a different name for his whatever the hell that is. Is that on the bad list?
That'd be fun. No, it's not. That's probably like a 6.2 or something, like super milquetoast rating. I don't know. I mean, I could look if you want, but I don't care. I think
a bunch of Scientologists are upvoting it, so it'll never have like a fair review. 6.4, still lower than this.
I was pretty close.
Battlefield Earth is on our list, though, right?
I think it's towards the very end. Like it is one of the lowest rated films ever.
Yeah, it's infamous.
Even
it's because
ironically, even the Scientologists couldn't save that one.
Oh, I think that they're just the fact that enough people know what Scientology is that they're here to turn up in huge numbers to outvote the Scientologists.
Hey, Luke, have you ever stumbled into the Scientology skyscraper near Shinjuku?
I've seen it. I'm not going to go in.
No, of course you're not going to go in. I was just like, have you seen it?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I guess you could go pick up a Dianetics book
So
if you wanted to. Hey, maybe they
are
give it
you
to you for free.
are you guys ready for this?
For what?
Phenomenon has 151 user reviews. Battlefield Earth 1.4 thousand user reviews.
So we shouldn't have trouble finding a 10 for that. Okay, that's good to know.
No, Phenomena has 246. So
Right. So it's so this is actually a bigger deal than Travolta. Okay.
I think it is
Wow.
better, bigger in every way.
Okay,
More
cool.
bugs.
I guess we'll wrap this guy up unless someone wanted to say something.
Wrap him up in bugs.
Wrapping it up
Yeah.
in bugs. I'll do the
Yeah.
shizzle today.
All right.
Or films of filth on X. X. I can't say the X. I can't do it just as a letter. Okay, and Facebook. Um, support us on Patreon to keep the lights on and serving duties, hosts, money, that stuff. Podcastios. Talk about the Twilight Zone there at Time Enough Podcast. Talk about Space 1999 at Podcast 1999. Luke talks about Pokemon at Luke Loves Pokemon. He talks about Zelda at Hyrule Field Report. Sorry, my brain stopped working for a second. And the game show where gamers game each other about the games. Okay, there we go.
All
Bug
right.
bath time.
I love you all, bugs.
Stop a record there.